A very good evening to our viewers. Welcome to Business 7. I'm your host, Matthias Aufiko. In tonight's show, we look at the worrying situation developing in Mozambique, where angry citizens have taken to the streets in protest due to last month's disputed election results. Of course, that has led to citizens blocking transport lanes. That also led to the South African authorities closing down temporarily one of its busiest ports of entry, the Lebombo border post, that also affect Namibian trucks that transport goods to Mozambique. Well, we also have in the show the CEO of the Hospitality Association of Namibia, Ms. Kita Paisol, who speaks to us about growth in the tourism sector. Well, news coming in is that South Africa has closed one of its busiest port of entry, that's the Lebombo border post. Of course, it serves as a gateway into SADC for countries such as Namibia also, which is a big logistical player in the region. We have in the studio Mr. Peterson Cinda from the Namibia Revolutionary Transport Union. Mr. Cinda, good evening, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, no, it's good to have you on Business 7.
Yeah.
Of course, as much as you are a union, you are also very close to the business community of Namibia. We saw one of the Namibian registered trucks that was burned, set alight yesterday by angry Mozambican protesters. That's, of course, because of last month's disputed election that took place there. Can you maybe just give us a brief update as to what the situation is like?
Yeah, no, thank you very much for that question. And the situation in Mozambique is very, very much worrisome to us. And before giving the update, maybe I have just to be able to put it on record from the onset that such threat does not only poses the threat only to Mozambicans or to Namibia, but to the whole SADC industry, because when the port of entry for South Africa is temporarily closed and our people, they cannot be able to do deliveries in Mozambique, that possesses economic challenge to the whole region, that the movement of goods, it cannot be able to be moving, and that becomes problematic. Mm-hmm. And yesterday, after our drivers, which were blocked by the angry protesters, unfortunately, is that they were ordered last night for them to be able to remove their belongings from the trucks. And after they removed the belongings, then they started burning the trucks, starting from last night, heading to early morning hours of today. Mm-hmm. So that becomes very, very problematic to us, that it's getting to such an extent, and the safety of our drivers, it is very, very much compromised in such a state if things happens in the manner in how it have happened. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what are you hearing from the company? We understand that it's the Snell Transport Company.
Yes.
Of course, your union has a wage agreement with them. Are you in contact with them? What is the situation like as far as business is concerned?
Yeah, no, we only communicated to our members for us to be able to establish when this happened. We were updated by our members that no, we have got one of a member who is now part of the drivers, which was held on that. But we are just fortunate that there was only one truck of Snell, which was part of those one which was held and then eventually got banned. The rest of the drivers, there were also others which was also on their way there. But the moment one was held, then the others, then they stopped. They did not proceed anymore to reach that dangerous place. Up to now, they have crossed, but they are far from where the angry protesters are.
Yeah. So in terms of communicating and ensuring the safety of your members, how do you normally go about it as far as discussions with transport companies are concerned? What measures are there in place?
Like now, what we have been doing with most of the companies is that whenever there is safety concerns, we have got shop stewards at each and every company. So those shop stewards, we have trained them on how to be able to engage employers so that they don't risk others. But the issue which we have in this case is that when this issue happened, we gave a direct instruction to all our members. It was even on our social media to say that do not, on these days, we were referring it to Monday, do not be able to proceed to Mozambique until a situation is cleared. But in this case is that the driver who even happened to find himself in such a situation is not a Namibian driver, is a foreigner, an expatriate who happened that when the instruction was given, he could not be able to refuse. It was given to the two Namibian drivers, but the Namibian drivers, they refused. And it is allowed even by law that if you think the instruction which is being given to you, that instruction poses a safety or healthy risk to you, you can refuse such an instruction, which our Namibian drivers, they exercised that instruction, that due diligence, that they did not go to Mozambique. They refused such an instruction, and nothing can happen to them because they took their health and safety first. They put it first before just for them to be able to execute production.
Yeah. Of course, we are hearing that the truck went to deliver Namibian fish in Botswana. So perhaps from a macro perspective, how does this situation impact trade between Namibia and other SADC nations? And is this a worry to you as a union?
Yeah, no, it is worrisome. You remember that our people get the job because the employers, they have got to work for them to be able, because the fish which they transport, it is needed on the other side. So the moment now that they are being blocked for them not to take fish there, that means that the market is being killed. So when the market is killed, it's eventually going to be able to affect job, because if they don't get an alternative. For an example, if the market for Mozambique is killed and they don't get another alternative where they need to be able to transport goods to, that means that it affects our people. So for us as a union, we get worried for when something like that happens, because then you will be able to find yourself that sometimes if they don't find an alternative way, then they will be able to be forced, they need to retrench. Yeah. Because they don't have job for the others. So the only way for us is that we really call up for a speedy resolution, if that could be able to be resolved, so that our people, they can be able to continue. Because as we speak now, there are trucks which were booked to be able to go to Mozambique, but as of now, those trucks, they are idling somewhere. They have just, some companies have just to be able to say, no, park, we have to wait until the situation is resolved. But for how long now can that be able, they can be able to accommodate, it becomes problematic. Yeah. Even the client who is on the other side might also be able even to say that now people are just in the street, because those fish were supposed to be taken there so people can buy it. Yeah. But the same customer who's supposed to be buying those fish, they are in the streets now.
Yeah. So from a union's perspective, and I'm sure your members are probably worried now to say how long is this situation going to last. What are you doing from a union's perspective, be it engaging with the employers, be it engaging with government? What steps have you taken so far as a union representing so many truck drivers?
Yeah, no, from our side, you see, we can only be able to do to a certain extent. From our side is to prepare our people for them to be able to know that the longer this situation takes, what are the effects of such a situation. That is what we could be able to be doing at this stage. But as far as going further from there is that in the country we have got our politicians or government officials who are responsible to be able to engage their counterparts at an international relations level. That is their part, which we can only be able to hope for. But we are not in any position for us. At this stage, I will not be able to lie to say that we have got influence of what. There is no influence which we can be able to provide, because if the government of themselves, of Mozambicans, they cannot be able to control the situation, how can a union in Namibia be able to provide any possible solutions? It cannot, because they have got their reasons why they are on the streets. But from our side, the way we are just only, all what we can just be able to do is that we can only just be able to have hope that the situation can be able to be resolved, and all necessary transportations and goods to enter Mozambique can be able to resume normally. That will be able to be at least an ideal situation which we can be able to look at.
Maybe to those who are wondering, but why are we having this conversation? How does this impact me as a businessman in Namibia, this situation? Maybe can you just give us a brief breakdown as to how far these repercussions affect the region, as the SADC region as a whole?
Yeah, you see, currently now, we can be able to say that it affects not only a truck driver, it affects even a factory employee who's working in Valfes. It affects even the fisherman who's catching the fish. It's not only affecting a truck driver, it's affecting the person who got a vessel in the sea, who's catching the fish. That fish which is destined for it to be able to go to Mozambique, it's going to affect them. Because the moment that market is killed, that fisherman, actually even the retrenchment, it will not only just be able to happen only for the truck driver, but the retrenchment will start from the fisherman. It will start, the business person who's having a vessel in the waters at Valfes Bay is going to be affected, because the quantity which you were supposed to produce so that you can send, it's going to be affected because you have lost the market. The factory which is supposed to be able to prepare this fish for it to be able to go, it's going to be affected. The officials which are working at our borders, facilitating our people which are going to Mozambique, is going to be affected. Our MVA, or the road fund, is going to be affected, because those trucks which are running on our roads, which are paying those levies when they are making use of our roads, they are going to be affected, because less levies is going to start going to our government. So all this, it does not only affect what industry, but it actually affects everybody. Because when even the service stations, which when these drivers are driving, going through there, they used to stop at a service station for them to fill up and buy food, take a shower, and leave a little money at that service station, is also going to be affected. So the impact, it does not mean it will only be for one person, but it's, or one business or one industry, but it is across the board.
Of course, we've had similar situations in the past. Not so long ago, South Africa, when there was unrest there, and there were cautions and notices issued, especially for long-haul truck drivers to practice caution there. How does one prepare to emerge from a situation like this? If you look at it from in hindsight perspective as to the situation of South Africa, how do you then, if Mozambique now gives a notice that everything is clear, we can resume business, what are some of the due diligence that's supposed to take place before we can send our drivers to Botswana again?
Yeah, to Mozambique.
To Mozambique, sorry.
The first thing is that safety of our people is of utmost importance. So when the situation have to be able to get back, like in South Africa, what we normally used to see there. In South Africa, we have gotten used to it now almost every week. One way, it's always blocked by protesters. And but what we have learned from South Africa is that their police they have become proactive. So if the protesters are here, and when they clear that road now to say that here now it's clear, the police will be able to remain at that place at least for a while, for them to see to it that people, when they are going to be passing, they are safe. And we also hope that by the time, if the situation gets resolved, or when it gets resolved in Mozambique, we hope that the law enforcement people there, they will be able to assist our people. We will even wish that at least for the first week or so, at least maybe they could be able to escort the people, the trucks when they come. They can be able to have an escort of saying that one police in front, one at the back, so that they can at least be able to escort passing through that place, and then only after that, then after, I'm sure that most of the time after a week, these things, they die a natural death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as a Namibian businessman, what would be a determining factor for me to decide that do I want to return to that route again, or do I look somewhere else? What would be a determining factor?
No, the unfortunate thing is that this challenge which we are facing in Mozambique, most of the business people, they are almost used to these things. Us being having our big brother South Africa, which always give us these mini shows already. So in Mozambique, once the situation had been stabilized, I'm sure that the business people, they will be able to still find the same way they have found it in South Africa, that people get back to normal operations. The same like in South Africa, you will be able to see that at least in South Africa at this current rate, when we are looking for this year, you will be able to see that at least in a week, at least 5 trucks get hijacked in South Africa. But the business people never run away from that. They are almost just used to that. The same also even in Mozambique, that when this situation is going to be normalized, it will just come to normal, and then the law enforcement will be able to assist. We just have to be able to work with the law enforcement and cooperate with the law enforcement. Whatever advice or instructions or directives they give, we just have to be able to follow that. In most cases, you will be able to say that when the situation gets normal, they will be able to put up things like you only drive during the day. So the transit can only be able to happen during the day. So at night, we have to be able to find safe places where we can be able to park, and then it will be able to be well.
Yeah. Maybe just lastly, as we wrap up, you mentioned earlier on that this situation also needs a government-to-government sort of interaction. What would your message be to the two governments? Of course, both members of the SADC structure. What would your message be in that regard?
Yeah, I think at this stage, what we will just be able, I have not, maybe I have missed it, but one would be able to expect, considering that our government, one would be able to expect, at least could be able to take us in confidence to say that these are the engagements so far which we have had with our counterparts, so that, and give an update to the nation, because I think they owe that to us, to be able to say, considering that there is trade happening between the two companies, and it also take the investors' confidence, take the investors in confidence, and as well as the workers, that these are the engagements. If it requires to say that, okay, we are at least in discussions, or who is intervening or whatsoever, at least that message was supposed to be able to come out. And if it have come out, unless maybe I have missed it, which I did not see up to now, and I think our government needed to be able to come out clearly and take both the workers and the investors in confidence, because I think it is very important for them to be able to send that message out.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Kaminda, thank you very much for your time.
Yes.
Have a good day, and we wish you well as you navigate this situation with your members.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
All right.